G'day viewers, I'm Adam Stokes. Welcome back onto the channel where today we're looking at the brand new Toyota Landcruiser Prado. When I say brand new, they're just about to update this, but this is brand new, 2023 model, straight off the hire car floor. I've been driving it around Darwin for the last week. Quite enjoyed it, very easy to get in and out of. It's a big car. You don't realize how big it is until you're actually in it. Of course, the full Land Cruiser is even bigger again, but it's much bigger than the Kluger or Fortuner. And I'll cut straight to the chase. If I were a soccer mum or soccer dad that wasn't doing any off-road driving, I wouldn't get this. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's a big car. And after driving the Kluger and Fortuner around town, I would certainly go over to those cars instead of this one because it's just too much car. In Darwin, everyone's got it. I call this place the city of Prados because everyone up at the top end is driving these bad boys. They're everywhere, but for good reason. They are a serious car, super strong, super reliable, Toyota pedigree, and you could take this thing off-road or go over a gutter, no problem whatsoever. I haven't gone much off-roading because it's only got the road tires, but if you spec this up, it would be no issue. There is a fair bit of kit there, even stock, to take this thing off-road. They're updating the whole shape. I really wish they'd update this grille in the past, but let's move on. Lights are good. I love these little washers here because instead of like in other cars when you pull on your windscreen washers, these randomly go off. There's actually a button inside that you can press and you can control when the washers go off. So I had a bit of a play with that and they're quite effective. I think it's all a tidy finish. Comes in 3 whites as I've seen around town. You've got kind of a creamy white, don't really like that. A pearl white, that looks quite rich, but this is the standard gloss white. I think I actually prefer this. They're just bright, clean, and when you're in a really hot day and you've got it parked, it's good to have a white car. This has come with the privacy glass at the back, but no tints at the front. I would change that immediately, especially up here. But overall, I've been very happy with this. You've got the updated 3-dimensional tail lights here, a hard cover, which I think you absolutely need when you're out in the sun for your full-size spare ready to go. You don't want your full-size spare getting cooked in the sun, as everything does here. If I fog up throughout the video, it's because I'm in Darwin. The humidity must be 100% up here. It's nuts, but being such a harsh environment, this is the type of car I'd want. In Darwin, what's quite interesting, I don't think I've seen a single BMW here. I can't remember seeing any Mercedes except for one inside an embassy. There are just Toyotas everywhere, which is testament to the car. This is serious driving up here. This is serious, hard driving, hard environments, and that's why you see these cars everywhere. Opening the back, the old Landcruiser Prado logo there, you pull it across, and of course, it is a sideways opening door as opposed to a straight up openings door. This is got pros and cons. Look, some people prefer it, but the issue is, of course, in a car park like I'm here, if you park against the wall and you want to get your shopping or kids out or whatever out, you can't, because look at the distance that it goes, like from here all the way back. You wouldn't be able to open it. So personally, I still prefer an upwards lifting tail, or even better, like the X5 has a split where you have one that comes down here and one up here. It's all subjective. Into the back, you've got your serious voltage here for if you were putting a fridge or other 12 volt. Sorry, this is my apologies. This is actually just a normal power point. Look at that. It's over in the front where we've got the normal sockets there. That is pretty cool, where you could just plug anything into there. So you could put your fridge in there or phone charger or whatever. A few bag, sorry, this is for your seat belt holder and your parcel shelf here, which didn't come with the car. You would hook it here, but I actually can't find it anywhere. Fold down seats, 60/40 configuration, and another 2 seats here, so you can turn it into a 7-seater. I tried the rear seats. I'm not getting in this thing, not at 6'3", so the kids wouldn't be having a good time in there either. But look, for now, putting in lots of luggage. One thing, because it's such a big car, it's actually, if you were a small person putting luggage here, it's actually quite a high lip. It's a very high lip, and again, this is why if you're a soccer mum or dad, you wouldn't want this car. You'd want the Fortuner or the Kluger, because it's a little bit lower, but still high enough to give you the 4-wheel drive feeling. I would also, if I was going serious off-roading, I would do what I've seen many people do. They put another flat rack on here where they can just pile it up with heaps of stuff. This did come standard with these racks here, but I've seen a lot of the locals take this off and just put a flat tray with spares and lots of other camping equipment on there. When we go into the back, lots of room. We'll go to the back first. I'm 6'3". Both front seats are all the way back, and I can fit in this perfectly as the car park lights have just turned off around me. You've got vents up the top here, as opposed to vents down there, and that gives it a bit of a luxurious feel, like in an aeroplane where it's coming from the top. But I will say this, it's so hot here that it doesn't, I'm surprised it doesn't have an AC max button, which we'll talk about a bit later. But I basically had to shut all the vents and divert the air just to my face to get that maximum flow. Electric windows, of course, double cup holders with another fold down here and cup holders there. I really like this material here, although I'd probably put car seat covers over it, and the rubber mats that this came with. This was the 12 volt I was talking about before. Sorry for the light, all the car park lights have just turned off. That's just a 12 volt socket, as opposed to what we had in the back, which was pretty cool, which is a normal power point. Okay, moving around, and I'll start this bad boy up. I'll show you what else I like about this. Many things I like, many things I don't. Overall, awesome car, but just too big unless you're going off-roading. Okay, I do like how they've put the start button on this side as opposed to on that side, because in this instance, I can just press my foot in and start it up. Not as good as a remote start, but still much better than having it on the other side where you've got to get all the way in the car to start it up. I will also say this has keyless entry, but I didn't notice the keyless entry until after a few days, because the sensor is on this side where it should be on that side. Now everything's beeping at me. Let me just shut the door and I'll get in so I can stop melting here. We're talking about 100% humidity up here. And I keep mentioning the heat and how many are here, because this is the car you want if you're in the zombie apocalypse. This thing can handle it. You hear the old diesel rattling around. Oh, so much better, so hot. The diesel engine is a 4-cylinder diesel 2.4, and I was actually surprised how much power it had. More than enough power, fantastic. I would like to see it with a 6-cylinder, and I know the new ones are coming out with a 6 petrol, and you can get this in a 6 petrol, as I understand. But I was actually surprised how torquey this is. When it comes to the driving though, around town, tight turning circle, but boaty and horrific, like horrible. It's bouncy as well, like the brake is so touchy. You put your foot on the brake and it's bouncing up and down like your dad's old 1970s or 80s Ford with all the springs going everywhere. But that's not, I'm not having a go at the car, it's just that it's not really set up for around town. Although it does have that tight turning circle, it's just too much. It's too much. If you're an off-roader, you want this car. If you want a serious off-roader, obviously you go to the full Land Cruiser. But if you're somewhere in the middle, I think the Lanscruiser Prado it's kind of more than enough. You put the good off-road tires on it, you put the rack on the top, like I said, to get another spare on there, so you'd have 2 full-size spares. You could put heaps of kit on it, maybe a couple of jerry cans, get the fishing rods on there. You could really survive zombie apocalypse or camping serious out here. And you can see the pedigree of the 4-wheel drive off-roading here, because, sorry for the blur, I think I'm fogging up again. Let me just wipe the lens so we fog up in the tropical Darwin. You can see here there is a steering angle, so when I turn the wheel, the image turns with it, and that just goes to show that when you're off-road and you're not actually sure where your wheels are, you've got this little sensor here. I'll just turn it back and of course you'll straighten up. But looking at the dash, kind of too standard. Well, it's subjective. Do you really care if it's just an off-roader? Not really. Me, I like a bit more style and luxury here, but I can use this control here to flick through the menus. I can use my compass, go through the Bluetooth, radar cruise control, which was pretty good, lane assist, which keeps you in the lane. It doesn't keep you in the lane, it just beeps and annoys you, but you can turn that off, so it's a good safety feature. But I actually prefer the one that brings you back into the lane, because sometimes it's beeping, and just to test it, it sort of drifted off and just made a noise as opposed to bringing you back. But you can turn it on and off. You've got your menus, your back button, your enter, and on the other side you've got your stereo, your voice control, which is completely useless. I don't even know why they bothered. They probably just slapped it in there to say that it has voice control. Nothing like the other end vehicles as in the European cars, to be blunt. I tried it, I kept trying it. It's too slow, it's too clunky, it's too terrible, it's too limited. You don't need it. phone controls here. I did call people. It seems to be coming through pretty clearly. So hands-free when it comes to making phone calls is fantastic. Again, back to the dash here, the cluster. When I flick through some of the menus, sometimes it's just too busy. Like there's just too much there. Although you can get it to where you want it, it's just a bit clunky. And it's also a bit small. I'd like to see that a little bit bigger. Over to the center screen, massive center screen here. The issue is though, it's the old Toyota clunky center screen. It's ugly, it's old, it's laggy. It does have shortcut keys here, but you're not buying this car for the luxury of this screen here. I think in the Lexus version of this, it would be much, much better, but you're not really buying it for this. The stereo's fine. Not awesome, but definitely not bad, and it's more than enough. The issue that I don't like here is, as I mentioned before, is that there's no AC max. So think real tropical heat. When I want to get the fan really going, I have to basically change the mode so it's face only, and then I have to shut all the other vents, including the rear vents, to build up enough air pressure so I've got good airflow coming out of there. That, you know what, in the tropics, that is probably my #1 hate of this car. Everything else I can kind of deal with. That one I just thought, for all the heat that these cars are ready to handle, because there are a lot of them are used in the desert, of course, I just thought that was a bit how you're going. Moving on, I'm just going to put it into gear so we can see some of the controls down here. This is your 2 cup holder, but I'll shut that. You've got a little cubby hole here, but I'll shut that so we can clean it all up. And now you've got your controls down here. You've got high 4 and low 4. So this is what I've been driving around the whole time. Center diff lock, rear diff lock, hill descent, anti burnout control, and second gear start. All very handy features, but you've also got a blank plate here, which will be good if you wanted to get it up-spec'd or put your own stuff on here. When we go over to here, and I do apologize for the light, this is my parking sensor here. And although you do have a reverse camera, so when I put it into reverse, you've got a reverse camera. Resolution is bloody terrible. And a car this side, I want the bird's eye view, but in the defense of this vehicle, this is again a hire car, and the stock base model hire car. It's still pretty tricked out and pretty spec'd for the base model vehicle. With the safety features and the capability, I'm pretty impressed. But when we're going in reverse here, look, it's good enough, but for a car this size and noting the technology exists, you really want the bird's eye view. You need that full surround view, which I'm sure you could get either in the up-spec or definitely in the Lexus. But I just mentioned this parking button that's weird here. This is your parking sensor, and I must have bumped it on the first few days, because when I pressed it, I didn't realize I'd pressed it, and then when I was reversing, I'm waiting for the beep, 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 and it never came, and I'm like, what happened to my parking sensors? And it was this. I had accidentally knocked it. You probably get used to that when you're in your owning this as your own car, but that's just something to be cognizant of. Actually surprised how easy it is to park. Very good turning circle. Very easy to do parallel parking for a car this size. When you first get into it, it's like, oh, I'm stuffing this up, it's not right. But it's like, no, just keep going. And yeah, you get it into the spot. You've got it aligned front and back. The camera is good enough for that. You get nice and close to the gutter. I'm just going to drive forward a little bit because all the lights in the car park here have turned off. The reason why in Darwin all the lights turn off is because not just to save energy, but if you have lights going all day, you're obviously going to have lots of little creatures come in here, creatures and bugs that are going to do all sorts of things and forming nests as we start those lights up again. Here we go. Let's get these lights. You can see it running around as we've got, I'm on private property at the moment, so please don't arrest me, but you've got a very easy turning circle here, a fantastic turning circle. I would like the wheel a bit thicker. Toyota, you're terrible for this. Why do you make such thin steering wheels? You make good, solid, boringly beautiful and beautifully boring cars that we know and love, like the comfortable old couch in a property that we just love to sit in and relax. That's probably one of the ways to describe a Toyota, but your steering wheels are just so thin. Just make it thicker. It's not hard. Thicken it up. Particularly there's so many blokes are driving this. Anyway, cruise control down here. I love the cruise control down here. I much prefer a cruise control stalk as opposed to buttons up here. It clears up buttons for other controls, or spaces for other buttons for other controls. And for me, just cruising on the highway, I like it here. Very subjective. The BMW used to have it here. The Mercedes has it up here. The Toyota has it down here. It's just something you got to get used to. I do like that where the Toyota has it. Always liked it down there. Okay, the speed bumps on this. So when you go over like a speed bump, this thing just chews it up like a gummy bear. It's fantastic. Because it's got that Toyota pedigree. But when you're touching the brakes in tight situations, it is so bouncy and jumpy. I think the Lexus version, or if you upgraded the suspension on this, it would handle much better in those aspects. But of course, this has been designed primarily to go off-road, and there is no doubting this thing could absolutely handle it. Going back down to, I'll put it into park to shut that up. This side here, all standard, electric mirrors, auto or manual or off to get those mirrors to retract. So if I go to manual here, you see those mirrors retract there. I've just left it on auto, so when I lock it, it just automatically shuts down, as in folds back, which is pretty handy. I emphasize again, it's so easy to park this car. For a car this big, I've got to give you credit where credit's due. It was awesome. Okay, so we're back down here for your spotlights, or fog lights I should say, and this is the button I was talking about where it's the headlight washer. This is much better than what other cars do, where sometimes you put on your windscreen washers and it automatically goes off. I much prefer this. The reason is because in my Beamers, I just want to clear my windscreen, but of course it automatically sets off the washers at the front, and if I've got a clean car, I now have windscreen washer fluid all over my car because it's done on the headlights. First world problems. Blank plates here, obviously for when you upgrade your vehicle, either from the factory or yourself. Toyota has really considered, you know, winch, fog lights, other, it's all here good to go. This is your manual regeneration for your diesel particulate filter. So there are times that you can put this on. I did notice today on the highway, it did actually automatically do it. So this is just a diesel thing for your particulate filter, where it's got to clean that filter, and every now and then you got to do the long trip. Nothing flash here. Automatic windows all the way around. Central locking. Lock the kids so they can't do the windows at the back. Plasticky here, which is fine because it's an off-road vehicle. I've got no issue with that. I'll just clean that. I'm going to clean the lens again. I'm fogging up here, kids. This is all fabric, which is perfect for there. Plastic here. I think they've nailed it. Although it's all scratchy plastic, it's cool. This is a zombie apocalypse vehicle. This is the vehicle you want to be in when the poo hits the fan and you've got to run and survive. This is the thing. Massive speakers that you could upgrade. Huge door bins here. Double bottle there where you can put your maps in there. The old Toyota Silver here. Not too shiny, not too dull. I think they've just nailed it. It's just a really comfortable place to be. I would suggest though, when it comes to safety, I'm getting into the nitty gritty here. Vents should be lower, screens should be higher. Why? Because if you're ever looking at center screen, you don't want to dip your eyes too low. BMW does it better. Mercedes does it better. But when it comes to Audi and Toyota and other cars, it's just such a simple change. Vents low, screens high. Manufacturers, and that's how it's done. Don't do it the other way around. Although you have volume controls here, I also do like that you've got a volume control here. I could synchronize my phone reasonably easy, not overly easily compared to other car manufacturers, but once you've got it synced, you're good to go. But when it came to listening to Spotify versus a podcast versus the radio, it's just a little bit clunky, and it goes back to the old Toyota infotainment system. They're not very good. They're not bad, they're just not good. You really want something like, well, there's no argument, even though it's subjective and you get used to the feeling of it, there is no better infotainment system and more intuitive system than the BMW. And I won't say which one is the worst, but this isn't the worst, it's just not the best. When we go up to the top here, I thought this was a sunglass holder thing, but no, it's actually a little mirror so you can see the kids in the back. Over to the visors, you've got vanity mirrors with the light on both sides. I should probably turn them on so I get more light in here. There you go. Think of it as I go. And as all cars should have, they should have this extension here, not for when it's this way, but for when it's this way. And you've got this little gap, especially up in the north and the sun is melting, you pull that across there. And why don't all cars do this? And the Volkswagens, particularly in America and Europe, They have what we've got here, but then they've got another flap here. I wish it had that. I don't know why it's not. It should almost be law. So, you know, sometimes you're driving around and you're covering the sun here, then you go around the corner, you need to cover the sun here. I'm ranting. Let's move on, as I've just got to get out of the way because I'm in the way of someone. Sorry. Very unprofessional here. Okay, got a local going past. Everyone seems quite friendly here. There you go. She even gave me the thumbs up. Phyllis, good on you, Northern Territory. I was in the way. There's your old Bodie Ford Falcon. I blocked her. I was in the way. And then when I moved, she gave me the thumbs up and a thank you. Good on you, Northern Territory. We love it here. It's such a different country. And I really mean that. The Northern Territory, although part of Australia, it is literally like a different country. It's amazing here. I love it, but I wouldn't want to live here. Those who do live here, good on you. Big grab handles. This is serious stuff for when you're doing off-roading. Or, well, hang on. When you're off-roading, obviously, your hands are on the car, on the wheel, but your passenger's got it. But when you're getting in and out of the car, there's your big grab handle to get in and out of there with your little side stepper there. Great car. Overall, I wouldn't buy this car unless I was serious about off-roading. I would personally buy the Lexus version. Better suspension, better interior. But really, I would get, if I was a soccer mum or dad, I would be getting the Kluger or the Fortuner. I think the best Toyota I've driven just as an everyday car is probably that Kluger. It was the perfect balance of size and luxury and maneuverability. Very close to that was the Kluger. Kluger doesn't have as much luxury, but really, off-road, you want one of these bad boys or the full-size Land Cruiser. If you're a soccer mum or dad and you're not going off-road, or even if it's just every now and then, you know, like on a dirt track to get to some picnic somewhere, you don't need this pedigree of car. It's too much four-wheel drive. It's like, it's awesome, but it's too much. It's too much unless you're absolutely and certainly going to use it. Then it's right on the money. A big glove box with a little, I don't know what these things are here. So I think you put your credit cards in there or something there, because I noticed there's another one here. And I thought, and I actually think from memory, in a Lexus or other versions, it looked like you could put your phone in here, like it slotted down to charge, but it doesn't. USB here, 12 volt there. Very weird shaped thing here, but I like it because your phone can drop in all right, or this is my hotel card, I can drop it in there. Kind of cool shape here. Again, cup holders there, little hidey hole there. Deep but slippery. They should have, you could probably do it yourself. You put a little bit of carpet there so things aren't sliding around and scratching. I'm clutching at straws here or getting nitty picky. 3 buttons here, you get used to it eventually, but when I first got into this car, I'm like, what's going on? Because you do this one and the top slide goes up. That makes sense for your little tray there. There's my fuel card. The second button goes into the deep bin. But the thing is, you've got this third button or lever down here. And every time I tried to open it, I'm like, well, why won't it open? What's going on? And now again, you'll get used to this, but when you first get into it, like, I just want to open it up. And so you try that one, it's like, no, that's not what I want to go. I want to go here, but it's like, this one is to slide the armrest forward or back. And it's like, okay. So again, you'd get used to it and it's not an issue. But when you first get into it, you're like, what's going on? I'd actually prefer the dual opening ways, but hey, who cares? What else? I think that's pretty much it. I've enjoyed driving this car, but I'll also enjoy giving it back. Fuel was great. Diesel, I've been driving around all week and I have barely used a quarter of a tank. I haven't been flogging it, but I haven't been going easy on it. It's not a quick car, but it's not a slow car. It's got enough torque to pull a car full of stuff and kids and maybe a trailer. You might be pushing it a bit then, but I've been going up some steep hills here and it really pulls you up. There is enough torque in the beauty of a diesel to get you where you want to go. Of course, the new version of this is mainly looking at the 6-cylinder petrol, as I understand it, but I'd actually prefer this. I haven't driven it yet, so I don't want to say I'd prefer this 4-cylinder diesel. I just think if it did have a 6-cylinder diesel, I think it'd have some serious pulling power then, but maybe an overkill. Overall, loved it. Happy to give it back. Tell me what you think. What did you like? What didn't you like? Have you got one? From the city of Prados here in Darwin, where they are everywhere. I'm Adam Stokes. Thanks for listening. Happy driving, and I'll talk to you next time.